All right, so let's go post this. Do 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 do. Should probably say plus Discord on that. I'm going on the stage. Start the stage. Should probably change it to on Discord. Because with Discord, I think I'm talking to Izzy or something, who works over there, which might be a thing that people get the wrong idea. Okay, so here we are, ready to go. The only thing I need is something to drink. So I'll be right back. All right. I kind of feel like sitting in my couch, but then I can't type. So that's a problem. We will leave the welcome to our Discord, friends. So today's session. Did you miss a giveaway? No, there was no giveaway. We should probably make giveaways. That's a great idea. Cheers, everybody. I'm drinking brandy tonight. I am drinking brandy with my rocks that are not really rocks. I have to do my laundry. That's my wife. That's how she does the laundry now. She's like, I told her, I said, you don't need to fold them all. She's like, okay. So she brought me my stuff. She's like, put it down there. So, what are we doing? Well, we're relaxing and we're answering tech questions for an hour. And this is going to be on YouTube. So if you are watching this from YouTube, forgive us ahead of time. We don't do anything fast here. So you might need to put me on double speed or whatever, and there might not be anything interesting in here for you to hear about. I'll try to at least put some sort of comment about the main questions that were asked in the description of YouTube, so that we are not flailing the entire time. So let me just show you the calendar really quick. The first question is, what is this and why are we doing it? And you know what the time frame going to be, blah blah blah. So as usual, in August, I usually get really I don't know. I get kind of ambitious, we'll say. We're all slow here. I mean, come on. Now I'm drinking too, so we're slow. We're just slow here. If you want to, really intense, kind of, experience bouncing around and doing all kinds of stuff, there's lots of other places to go for that, right? And there's great streamers that do that. There's great YouTubers that do that, that'll like shout at you and try to speed run through things. And not me. I'm slow and meticulous, and slow and steady wins, if you ask me. So what are we actually doing? Well, first thing is I'm trying to tell you what we're doing. I'm like an Ent. I'm like an Ent from Lord of the Rings. You guys know Ents from Lord of the Rings? You guys know Ents from Lord of the Rings? We Ents don't say anything unless it is worth saying slowly. I mean, sometimes I'm faster than that. I can code pretty fast when I want to. Coding fast is not always fast, though, because you end up coding the thing and you're like, oh, crap, I have to throw it all away. Oh, I'm supposed to tell you, this is suitable for work. All right, even though I'm drinking alcohol, this next hour is, try as we might, going to be suitable for work. Okay, my friends? We're going to try really hard to keep it suitable for work. I've been trying. Okay, let's ask. Here's a question. I'm going to write the questions down. Yeah, I'm going to write the questions down. I'm all organized. All right. Actually, let's write the questions down in the Discord. We haven't quite figured out where we were going to write them in the Discord. We wanted to do this. We have a community choice active thread. We have general suggestions. I'm just going to put them in the notes. I'm just going to put some notes about this. So that I'll put Zed create questions Q&A for what's the day? August. I mean, we'll just put Q&A, and then I'll fix it. This is the first one, so give me a break. It's going to be even slower than usual. Now, bang bang bash. Hey, look how now I expanded now into a thing. Guess how I did it? No swearing. No swearing. The day crew went home. This is, I mean, do we want to swear right now? I don't think we should swear because we can't go on YouTube if we swear. So, no swearing. So there. Why does it say 1057 UTC? My Anton is like messed up. I got to change my time zone. Remind me to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't, let's see. Now in Eastern, I like that. I think I can do this. Bash. No, I think it's dash, is it dash D? I think that's it. Darn it. No, that's not it. I don't remember. Mandate. What is it? It's describe the string, not now. That's actually, let's see that. Date dash D in Eastern Standard Time. EST leads, I don't remember. I can't remember. I have to fix it later. I'll do it later. You get the point, though. I'm going to do Q&A. All right, so first one is, what are we doing and when? So let me show that again. So this is the idea. I don't know if it's going to be, if 7 o'clock is going to be the time for us. We're just trying it. As I said, I'm always overly ambitious. So about this time, I'm like, hey, we're going to have a question and answer session every day, and then I'm like, no, that makes me stay home when I just worked 8 hours and I want to go do something fun outside. But I keep telling myself we can do that during relaxed time. The only problem with that is then I really don't get out actually that much. So I've been trying to decide how many days a week to do this. But if we do it at the same time every day, I feel like it'll be consistent and people will want to hang tight and watch that. So, I don't know if that's going to be worth sitting through for a full hour or not. We don't really have a topic is the thing. So I don't know if it's going to be worth it. I think the community choice is going to be worth it because then we're going to go ahead and ask, we have a topic for that actually. The topic is what kind of security clearance is needed to get a job and is it worth any money? And we have in Discord, if you go into the stream, if you go to community choice conversations, you can go ahead and vote for your favorite question. Is security clearance worth it? We have another one, learning to learn how our brains solve problems, shower, thoughts, running, dreams. How does it work? So, and that is meant to be a Discord conversation where people come in and they can like talk to each other on Discord. Speaking of which, if anybody wants to come in to the Discord right now, I mean, there's not that many of us, but if you want to come into the Discord and talk, and that's the point of this, is that you can come in and talk in the Discord. And you can actually talk, you could say things if you want. But I don't know if people want to. Anyway, let's go back to some of the topics that other people had been asking about earlier today. So Ryluris asked, let me see if I can pull this down. Hey Rob, got a question for you. I'm a JS React dev and I'd really like to make the shift. I'm actually going to put this question in the tech questions and we're going to answer it. So hopefully this will spawn some conversation and y'all won't be too shy. Everybody seems really shy. So this is like Ask Ann Landers. Nobody knows who that is, but I do. My Aunt Nona used to send me every single one. All right, so here's another question. I'm a JS React dev. Too late for talking to me. Sleepy time. If it's because it's your English, right? Another thing I'm going to do during this time is I'm going to answer the AMA questions that get posted to Discord that I don't normally read. So I am going to be pulling questions out of there so that it stays continual and stays kind of on topic. I don't know if we're going to have one every day, but we're going to go ahead and do this. So here, a question for you. I'm a JS React dev. I'd really like to make a shift in more functional backend tooling stuff. Do I just tell my employer and hope they let me start the shift over? Or do you think it's possible to just start looking for a new job with zero the actual experience in that realm? I have very little free time for projects lately, but I do intend on making some fun things. This is a tough question. So let's actually talk about this. This is all it takes for me to talk for an hour is an idea like this. First of all, okay, there's a number of implicit questions here. Okay, so the first question is, can I do back-end stuff while doing front-end stuff, and can I prepare for a job over there? There's a lot of another question that's implicit in here, and I'm going to actually write this. Should I ask / trust my employer to let me do what I want career-wise in the future? So there's kind of that question there, right? There's another question in there. How do I make time to prepare for what I want to do in the future? That's a big old question there. And the other question is, what should I learn for back-end tooling type of stuff? I mean, that's kind of a question, right? And why is that implicit in question? Because it's like, does your front end stuff cover it? Well, that's something we got to talk about. And do I just tell my employer hope? Or do you think it's possible to just start looking for a new job with zero actual experience? How much experience do I need before I apply for a new job? Okay, so there's a lot of questions in this big old question. So since somebody asked it, I think that's probably going to cover us for the night. But if you do have another question, please let me know. So let's take them one at a time. All right. Summary, yes, you should. But yes to what? I mean, there's a lot of questions there. That's why we need to break it down. So the first implicit question is, should I trust my employer to let me do what I want to prepare for the future? And the answer is no. You shouldn't trust them. You should definitely ask them. But if your employer is not already, yes, you should. You should definitely do that. If your employer is not already okay with you taking an entire day, usually Friday, off to prepare yourself for future assignments and keep your career going, you need to change jobs immediately. And that's not hyperbole. All right, I'm going to turn this music down, by the way, because it's going to get me muted. So I'm going to turn the music down. All right. If you think for a second that somehow your employer is going to have some moment of enlightenment and they're going to suddenly change their ways and value you enough as an employee, as a person, to learn, and you're just fooling yourself. They're either already doing it or they're going to be forced to do it, but you can't trust them to do the right thing. You just can't. And it's not selfish for you to act in your best interest. What you need to do, so seriously, one of the biggest red flags for any company, and you should probably ask this in the interview, if they say, do you have any questions for us? They'll say, do you have anything like Think Fridays, like IBM has, where, or whatever, where they give you Friday for individual growth and career enlightenment. You can work on, as long as you're working on a project and your manager knows about it, that you're educating yourself and you're keeping up in the tech realm. That's a great question to ask, because if you ask that question, then it puts the onus on them. Now they're like, well, we don't really have that. We just expect you to do that on your own time. Boom, ding, 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 red flag. Somebody do the red flag. Somebody do the police alarm bell. Police alarm bell. There's their alarm bell. Oh, we just expect people to use their own time to keep their skills up. If a company says that, you immediately have a red flag, because that means that they do not value you as a person and they do not value your time. And they also are operating from this weird place of scarcity mentality, which means that if they give you time, they think they're going to lose something. Right? Oh, it's just dev time. And if you don't believe me, this is not just me spouting off. Go read anything on the internet. Go search on Bloomberg. Go search anywhere. Search the trends for informed and enlightened employers. If you have an employer that is so, paranoid about giving you a day and doesn't have the bandwidth or the money or whatever to give you a day on the clock. I'm a contractor and I still get time on the clock. Not as much. I get like 3 or 4 hours on Friday, but I still get time on the clock that I can do whatever in order to keep my skills up, including contributing to open source software, which is really nice. And I still get paid. The companies that understand this are the companies you want to work for. If a company doesn't understand that, run the hell away. Get out of there as fast as you can, because that company is going to die. And particularly now when all the money's drying up and everything like that, because they have no clue. And so those kind of companies are kind of in the same classification of companies that will give, applicants a task to do at home, and then they'll take the code and use it in their workplace because they're so hard up to get free work. And if you don't think that happens, do the research. It does. Your report gives you a week. Yeah, this company is indeed dying. Maybe I need to work for a larger company. Being in a boot camp grad, I kind of went to the first place that would hire me, and then it took a while. And that's fine. Look, it's hard to not be emotional about it. You feel like, you owe them something, but it's business. It's business, and you don't owe them anything. The days of like the retiring with a gold watch and then protecting you and taking care of you and sending flowers to your wife when she has a baby and all that stuff, that is gone. I mean, those days are gone. Today, work is about a contractual obligation to meet the needs of the company, and that's it. And if you work remotely, it could be 3 hours, it could be 10 hours, it could be whatever it takes to get the job done. Right? So you found out we choose to do dev tests because it was so obvious. Yeah. So these are, if you're getting into the tech industry, this is a part of the tech culture you need to understand. If you don't understand that, you will get raked over the coals. You'll feel bad about yourself because they'll try to make you feel bad about yourself. And in fact, you're doing all the right things. In fact, there's a really funny TikToker, I forget her name, but she does a TikTok of questions you ask. What is it? Questions you ask a developer that you would never ask a doctor. So funny. It's so funny. It's like, we have to go find it. I don't remember. If anybody finds the link, let me know. So like they're interviewing a doctor, right? And they say, how many hours outside of your work hours do you use to promote your your career in your industry? None. How many independent contributions and free offerings do you make off the clock? None. It's like, when you go home, what do you do? I spend time with my family. It's funny because it takes exactly the same kinds of things that people ask tech people, particularly software developers, and it asks those questions of a doctor. And the doctor's like, no, I go to work, I do my thing, I go home. For some reason, there's this like extra expectation on software people and developers because, if you don't have like 40 hours a week or 40 hours a month of extra contributions on the side, then you obviously don't care about your profession. Nobody would ever say that about a doctor, although I still think it applies to a degree. If a doctor is not learning the latest technology, then you don't want to go to that doctor, right? We just don't know about that. So anyway, should I ask a trust my support to let you do what you want? Yes, you should. You should ask them point blank. Can I take Friday off to do, not off, right? Can I use all of my hours, all 8 hours of my Friday to contribute to free and open source development and to developing skills which I would like to use in other areas of my career future that do not immediately relate to what I'm doing right now. And if your employer says no, it's a real easy no-brainer. It's like, okay, bye. And if you want to, you can add like IBM, like Nike, the companies that I know, those are the two that come to mind, but pretty much every company has that. By the way, Google started that. As far as I know, that's not true. Google took the credit, we'll say, as usual. They also took the credit for naming SRE, which was already a thing way before they invented it. That one needed a drink. Do we need to make this into a drinking game? Everybody takes a drink every time Rob rants. Because we can. All right, so the first question is, absolutely go bring it up to your employer. Here's why: because you need to know whether your employer actually supports you or not. Here's something else you can ask your employer. All right. Here's something else. I want to tell you, one of my best managers I ever had at Nike. I'm already drunk. How you doing, Doc? So here's another question you can ask. All right. And I'm gonna Barb's probably not with us anymore, given the age she was when I worked with her back in my 30s. Barb is one of my best managers of all time, and you only know her by, thank you for the sub, appreciate that. Barb was my manager at Nike, and she always had my back. She was an amazing human being on several levels. And I just, certain managers really stick out. I don't, anybody else who's, kind of senior out there, you probably remember those managers. And I want to take you, I want to take you to a place where you can be grateful for your managers. It's not always about, oh, my manager's horrible, blah, blah, blah. It's also about celebrating the managers who did it well, who cared about you as a human being, who reached out, who went beyond and basically just as a part of their job cared for you. And I want to talk about her for a second, because let me tell you this, what a good manager does. All right. First of all, she said, hey, do you want to go to training? We got $2,500 for you to go to training this year. This is a true story. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. So she sent me to training twice. She sent me to Milpitas, California, to go to Sun Microsystems to be trained in Cobra. I'm sorry, in Cobra. What do I want to say? It's not Cobra. It's the other one. Corba. Learn Corba, which was the object request broker stuff, and Java back in the. I'm really dating myself here, right? So she sent me back to that $2,500, right? And then another year, she sent me up to Seattle, and she said, go learn. Well, not COBOL, no. She said, go learn PLSQL from Oracle. So I went to Oracle. I went on Oracle's campus, and I went to this 1-week training to learn PLSQL, and it was really fun and everything. And I busted my ass there, because when you're spending $2,500, I'm like, I'm going to make use of this time. While I was there, however, and this is super interesting. While I was there, however, the other people that are in the place, they didn't care. They didn't care. They were like doing the minimum, and they were going out to eat, and they were on per diem from the company and everything. And then they would go see a movie or something like that. Meanwhile, I'm like doing my homework and everything. I'm like, I want to get the most out of this. This is a true story. And I don't know if it was a Mormon in me or what. I don't know. I also feel guilty because I was totally whining and dining myself here, on the company dollar, away from my family. And my wife at the time was suffering at home with the toddlers, right? And I was like feeling super guilty because I got this really awesome, thing. And I'm like learning like crazy and everything. And these other people didn't care. Everybody came home with the same certificate. They all came home with the same certificate. You went to the PL/SQL training. Like, I know for a fact these other people over here who didn't work with me, they were other companies, had no idea what happened in that camp. Did they care? They totally burned up the $2,500. And that experience soured me on training so badly, I just could not do it. I went to Barb, so this is my manager. You're talking about going to your manager, whether you should trust them or not, right? About your future and your training and everything. I went to Barb after that, and I said, look, I never, ever want to go to another training like that again. It is an entire waste of money. And frankly, I feel like I built a lot of rapport with her because I was aware of the cost. There's so many people that would have taken the money and said, fine, I'm just going to screw it and we'll go. We all know that nobody actually gets anything out of this. They just go to these conferences and waste all the money on the company dollar. Why do you think companies don't offer that training dollars anymore? Because so many people have taken advantage of this. They got theirs and then they're just going. Nobody actually does the training, right? They go there and they abuse it, and then they make it a bad thing for the rest of us. So I went to Barb and I said, Barb, I'll make you a deal. Next year, give me half of that money and let me buy training materials and books. I'll go down to Pal's Books in Portland. I'll go down to Pal's Books in Portland and I will buy those books. And I promise you, I will get 100 times the value out of it. Because I was so bummed that she had spent $2,500 and I barely knew a little bit of PL SQL that I could have learned in 2 hours of training and experimentation on my own systems, having the right materials, the right documents, the right books and stuff. And I was like, I am not doing that again. I'm not doing it. I just can't. Ethically, I can't do it. So I told her, I said, look, give me half of it. She goes, fine, deal. And she actually, I remember because she gave me the money early. I said, would you mind if I took that money early? Because there's a bunch of stuff that I really want to learn that I think can help us. And that's, by the way, that's how I got TCP/IP Illustrated 2. The book, a very important book, right? That's how I bought it, because of this. All of my O'Reilly books that I got, bought them this way. All of them. And I rode Max. I rode public transportation to work for an hour and a half, 2 hours every day. And I took all of those books that she allowed me to buy and I read them. I was like, it was like a favorite thing of mine. I like had a warm, fuzzy dopamine hit every time I would sit in my bus or in the train and I would be flipping through the pages, learning TCP/IP or whatever. And I would just it was like I got a master's degree practically just sitting there experimenting and then taking what I had read about and exploring it when I got home on my own computer. That's how I taught myself Java, which eventually I gave conferences on back in the day when that was important. And I had a spectrum of books in my cubicle that I was so proud of. I believe I had pretty much every O'Reilly book ever made at one point. This was 1995. And so, I mean, I had them all. I bought them all. I was like, and some of them I read and some of them I didn't. You remember Bind to DNS? I had that. I had them all. And I loved having those. You know what was great about this is instead of the stupid training where the materials they even give you they totally suck. I had these books that I could go back to, and yeah, some of the books were dated and blah blah blah, but I had them there, and so I got this extreme sense of security by having the books. Thank you for the follow. I had those books. And I could go to it, and it's really hard to find good tech books. I mean, obviously, and O'Reilly's gone downhill, admittedly. But I could go and I could read them anytime I wanted to, and it cost my business less money. And it wasn't just learning the books, right? It was opening the books. It was learning the technique, the read, write, execute, RWX. Read about it, research it, write some code. Go explain, write about what digest what you just read and put it in your own terms in your notes in your journal or whatever. And then go back and explore and experiment, start writing some code, breaking things, seeing how it works. Well, she funded that and she saw the value of that. But more importantly than even that, I told her I had such a strong trust relationship with this woman, Barb, that I went to Barb and I said, Barb, every year I feel like it's important that I know, because I was the webmaster for Nike. I was the internal webmaster for Nike. I mean, talk about an evolving space, right? I mean, it was constantly evolving. Some stuff was new every day. And it was hard for me to keep up, right? So I told her, I said, look, it's really, really, really hard for me to keep up. I said, but one of the best ways that I can keep up is I need to go to industry recruitment fairs and job fairs so I can see what people are hiring for. I can see what people are using, and indirectly, I don't need to do any kind of corporate espionage. I can actually study what people are hiring for, and I can talk to the recruiters and the hiring agents, and I can get a sense of what's actually working in the enterprise without even talking to these other enterprises. I can go there and I can talk to them kind of like a spy, and I can pretend like I'm interviewing with them. And I was in Portland, yeah. You like Portland? Oh, I love Portland. Portland's one of my favorite all-time places I've ever lived. Yeah. Yeah, I was downtown. I worked for Teleport, if you remember. They got bought out by Earthlink, I think. But, yeah, I was there when they sold out. So, Barb, what did my manager do? Did she get paranoid thinking I was looking for another job and I was lying to her? No. What did she do? What did she say? She's like, absolutely, you need to go do that. And I told her, I said, but I'm taking resumes there too at the same time, and I'm giving a raise. She goes, that's totally fine. And just to give you just to cut over a little bit to Doris. Okay, Doris was a manager. She was a people manager at Target for a while. She's not anymore. She's doing her art thing. But when she was at Target, she used to tell people, the people that worked for her, she would come to them and she would say, look, if you're working here in 2 years, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to kick you in the butt and get you out of here. Because it's this scarcity mentality among managers that's really the danger, that they're not going to be successful. A true good manager, depending on the position, is going to be constantly expecting you to move on. And if they're a good manager, they'll have no problem finding somebody else, because they will have created trust with you, and then you will have made an acquaintance with somebody else, or they'll brought in an intern or somebody, and then they know they bring that other person. So there's no scarcity mentality. Everybody can help each other out. And so Barb comes and she says, absolutely, that sounds fine. So what did I do? I put my green suit on. I was all dressed to the nines. I got to go. And by the way, if you haven't been, I know that COVID's gone now, so you might get the chance to do this. Tech recruitment conferences are free. And one of the biggest parties that you'll ever be able to go to for free. And I'm gonna give you this opportunity right now, because everybody's trying to get you to work there. The thing that's so great about this is that you are the star. Nobody knows what you know, and everybody there is terrified they're gonna let the next great engineer go. So if you want a huge shot in the arm of confidence, even if you just barely know enough tech to talk a little bit about it. Agree, Susan Rob. I do have them. Yes, I do have them somewhere. So this is what you do. This is a secret. I'm gonna share my secret with you. Okay. You identify your local tech. You identify your local tech recruiting conference. It's usually an annual thing. And you figure out where it is, and you make sure you're there. And if they have an entry fee for like $20, fine. And you dress up for it. You dress up for it, or you make yourself, you wear really rich shoes, and then weathered jeans or something, so they think that. Basically, you get to cosplay a tech billionaire. I'm not even kidding. It's so fun. So you can cosplay a tech billionaire, right? You can cosplay a tech billionaire. And you can go to these. Nobody knows who you are. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you don't know, and they don't know what you don't know. All they know is that you're a potential hire that's going to do great things for the company, and that their, priority is hiring you. And by the way, what do companies do that are desperate to hire great people? Anybody ever been to like a tech conference of any kind? They put the boobas and the pretty people. They recruit. There's. I've been to so many of these. I don't go to them anymore. I probably should start. That would be some really fun IRL content. I need to do that. And now that we have my IRL rig, I definitely have to do that. I gotta do that. Oh my God, it would be so much fun. It would be so much. I gotta figure out a way to do the streaming and make it look really, really pro, like some kind of satchel and leather satchel or something. Because here's the thing, they don't know, right? So all of these companies, and we're talking big companies, they're putting their best presentation forward because they want to recruit you, which means that sometimes they're hiring models to pretend like they're HR people, not always, and they're super happy, and there's like giving you swag, they're throwing swag at you. You'll have so much swag in your backpack that you won't be able to carry the thing home, because they're trying to make you really love their company, and they're giving you free food and free bubble gum, and they probably have like a certain number of like special things they can give if they feel like like some like thing that they do at the end. I never got one of those, but I hear that they have them. So if you come across as somebody who really knows their crap, like a 10x programmer engineer, if you come across that way to the HR person that's running the booth, you might even get a private invite back to some extra dinner later, right? Where they're going to schmooze you and try to get you in there. So tech really opens doors in this regard. And you don't even have to have a lot of tech to do this. You just have to know how to talk the talk, honestly. And and then back to London, it was 80K per year. Wow. Yeah, that's it's crazy. So you can go to these conferences, you can role play a tech billionaire or an engineer or whatever you want to be, and you can go to, and at the same time, so you're accomplishing a whole bunch of things at the same time. You're number one, your confidence is getting really boosted because now you're kind of an extra, you're kind of an introvert because you're an engineer, you're a software person, you don't really know how to deal with people, but they're fine with it because they're looking to hire you, so they're going to look past all that, right? And especially if you like clean up a little bit, you know. And so you walk around, that's the first thing, your confidence is going to get injected. You will be around other people that are doing the same thing and they're also playing the game, so you got to just kind of ignore them, because if you try to compare yourself to other people that are in the room that are talking about how cool they are and how, they're like spouting, cool stuff, and they're playing the game better than you, they're role playing better than you, don't compare yourself to them. Just think about your interactions with the people that are interviewing you. Okay. Now, to be fair, at these booths, I will tell you, there's a few times when you go to one of these booths, they will have an SME there. They will have an SME who actually knows tech. Usually in these booths, what they'll have is, and I don't know if this changed, this was 10 years ago, but usually what they'll have is they'll have like the people that are just trying to attract you in and get you to talk to them. And then they have the subject matter expert. They have the bullshit guy, the guy who, which I used to do, by the way, for Nike. They have the person who actually knows, and they'll, if you might get graduated to talk to that person. If you talk to that person, they're going to start hitting you with things that their whole entire reason for existence is seeing if you're full of bullshit. They want to see if you actually know what you're talking about. And if you get to that conversation with that person, I'm sorry, I did swear, but that's the appropriate tech term in that regard. I don't know of any other word to describe that. So, you're going to actually talk to the person, and they're going to vet you. They're going to vet you. They're going to see whether you're just there for the free food and booba, or are you there because you actually want, to get a job and stuff. And so if you actually get that and you are looking, then yeah, you want to be ready, right? Sorry about that. So the point I'm trying to make is this is how tech recruiting conferences go. And I'm definitely going to put one on the agenda on the list to go to, so I can help you talk through these things. These things are really amazing because the number of contacts that I made at these is astounding. And I would come back and I would feel a little guilty, frankly, because I did go there legitimately. By the way, my company paid. So Nike paid the time for me to go there. I said, okay for me to go to this. I said, yeah, but at the same time, I was literally giving my resume to places that were potentially going to hire me away from Nike. And I'm only talking about the place I worked because it was in the past. I don't like talking about my current employer, but, so, I did feel a little guilty because I got like 2 or 3 like initial job interviews. I remember at one conference in Portland where, yeah, they were ready to hire me right off the bat. And I mean, because I was Nike's webmaster, I was in demand at the time. And so number 2, so you're going there to inject your confidence. Number 2, you're going there to find out what people want. I'm not talking about just what companies are hiring, but what's hot in the industry and why is it hot? And you can take that knowledge and you can use it for yourself to improve your skills, but you can also use it for your employer to tell them what's hot in the industry. And then you can try to decide whether it's a bunch of BS or if it's the real thing. Rust comes to mind, right? So, is it really legit or not? And you've gotten an insight into what people are talking about. Algorithm whiteboarding is ridiculous. I would never do it. Any company that gives me an interview like that, I'm instantly walking. There's no need to do that. So that's, it's probably illegal, by the way, because there are certain people with conditions that will freeze up in any whiteboard situation, whether they know it or not. And discriminating against them is probably illegal. Anyway, so the first question is, should I trust your employer? Yes, you should trust your employer. You should actively have them help you. You should be respectful of the money that they give you for training and such and time. If they give you Friday off and you go water skiing, you're a bad person. You're a thief. Unless you make that time up. So don't do that. Don't be a thief. Be respectful of their time. And, working remote means that there's lots of flexibility in the schedule. And, as long as they're getting the value out of you, that's what they're paying you for. But don't be a thief. Don't steal it. You're going to make it worse for everybody else. Right. And you're going to play into those like paranoid middle managers who are thinking, oh, you're just going to sit there and not do anything. If the more of us who actually follow through with learning and say, well, this is what I learned, you might even track what you're doing. You might write about it, W in RWX. So, there's some more. Yeah. Wait, so let's talk about that. How to improve courage as an IT employee. We're going to talk about that. So I kind of over talked about this. What time is it? Did I over talk? Where are we? Where are we on time? We've got to stop at 8 so we can go cover the sunset. All right. So we're definitely going to stream that. We're going to go to the conference. I wanted to how to make time to prepare for what I need to do in the future. Okay. So the other implicit question here is, how do I make time? So we already talked about one way. Ask your employer point blank for Friday off, right? Just ask them point blank. And if they give you crap about it, say, go read Bloomberg or anything and go look at all of the other companies that do this. And his reports, the sun has set today. Absolutely. Right. The other time to find time has got to be your weekend. And if you're really, really pressed for work, like I am, unless your employer approves kind of a greenfield project where there's a certain amount of research involved in the job. The only thing I want to say this is, it's not really justification. It's true. The job that you're doing requires a certain percentage of reading and research. I mean, you watch me every day, and I cannot remember even the simplest of Docker commands anymore. Because why? Because I've been doing Kubernetes for a year. Is that my fault, or is it what? Am I going to charge them for all the time I spend looking up how to do Docker commands again? Yeah, because that's the job. The job as a knowledge worker is constantly refreshing your knowledge. And by the way, if it becomes an issue, it's probably because they're moving you around too much. So your job, don't feel guilty charging your employer for time to keep current, even if it's on the clock and it's not your Friday off to do whatever, right? I would distinguish the stuff that you during the week to be focused on your immediate priorities and your deliverables. For example, my immediate priority and deliverable right now is OpenAPI. I have never, ever used OpenAPI. And so learning about it, I feel totally justified doing that on the clock. Everybody does. It's expected. Do they expect you to learn about those things off the clock? If they do, quit and go someplace else, because that's part of the job. I mean, anybody who doesn't understand that learning about the most recent tech or the thing that you're required to deploy is a part of the job is so clueless, you want to get away from them as soon as possible. So if and there are companies that don't do that, right? So, and there's gray there, like how far do you go with it, right? Do we really need to go that far into that depth of knowledge? And that's really the hard part of the job. That's really the art of the IT profession is, how deeply do you need to go into this topic in order to deliver for your employer? And I'll tell you right now, I openly admit that I tend to go too deep into a topic in order to be more sure of delivering a quality output, even though it takes me longer. And my greatest challenge of life has been slow delivery, but quality delivery. I will always put quality over time, always. And that has been a problem for me over time, because there's some people that don't want quality. They just want it to work and they really don't care, and they want to hit a deadline. And it's more important to them to hit the deadline. And those kind of jobs are the kind that I usually get out of pretty quickly, because I can't I don't. It's the German in me, the Swiss watchmaker in me, whatever. My grandfather was a Swiss watchmaker. I can't do it. I cannot deliver crap. I do on accident a lot, but not on purpose. It's like I just can't do it. So yeah, I end up spending way more time on things that I should, and that's the real job. The job is figuring out how to balance that, and creating technical debt. Yeah, I absolutely detest technical debt, and it's the nature. It's a part of the job, right? But so when somebody gives you a greenfield project and says, yes, we're going to build a new thing. I mean, imagine me picking COBOL for the new thing, that's like malfeasance. That's so bad as to the level of malfeasance. I should probably go to jail for it. But do I know OpenAPI? No. Does my team know Go? Well, no. Thank God these new peers that I have do know Go. We suggested Go earlier on to everybody, and they're like, you know what else I did? This is a fun story. When I was at Nike, I went to the system administrators, which I wasn't. I was just a developer and a web admin, not the same. I went to the system administrators and I said, it would be really great if we could save money and use Linux on these operating systems instead of Solaris. And they said, oh, no. We can't trust Linux. This is a true story. It's a true story. It's one of my favorites. They said, the same guy, right? And I went to them because I had Linux at home and I was running mock Linux at home, and I had a garage full of Linux machines and blah, blah, blah. I made tuckzone.net, let people on there for free. I was all about the Linux. And I said, and I went, yeah, manager said, we love the crap that works. Of course, they don't care. So this senior system administrator upstairs, who was, kind of holding all of the, strings to allow anything to happen, because I really wanted Linux instead of Solaris. I was tired of Solaris. I mean, I like Solaris, but, and he's like, no, we can't have that. Are you kidding me? I mean, you got to understand, this was in 94, 95, 96. People were getting fired for using IRC at work. I mean, that's how bad it was. In fact, if you use the web without authorization at work, you could be fired for it. Think about that for a second. Anybody old enough to remember this? There was a time in the 90s where if you used the web on company time, you could be fired. I didn't swear. You could be fired for using the web on company time. I am not even kidding. And there's at least one person out there who remembers these days, right? There was a time when that was the thing, and then everything changed, So the point of the story is, fast forward a year after that, the guy totally forgot that conversation, and he came to my cubicle, and he was being all friendly and everything, like he was going to pick me up or take me out for a date or something. He was being all casual and everything, as if he's trying to schmooze me. And I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going, buddy? And he's like, all drinks. And you know what he says? Because, we've been considering like, moving to Linux on some of our Solaris stuff so we can save some costs. I just, what would you think of that? And he was trying to schmooze me to get me to accept Linux. I'm like, yeah, I guess we could. He totally forgot the conversation that I had with him like a year ago, asking to have Linux on there. And Linux had come around and had gotten more mainstream. And now as a team, they were looking to save costs and put Linux on instead of Solaris to get rid of some Solaris machines. And he was trying to schmooze me so that he could put Linux on there. And he totally forgot. He just totally forgot. It was so funny. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then they did. And we went through the same thing with Apache and Netscape too. I said, what if we ran Apache instead of Netscape? And he's like, have you heard of Apache server? It's a good thing. It's like open source version of Netscape. I was, yeah. Because before that, they wouldn't even allow Apache in. Anyway, so it's kind of a rotating door. Don't put me in the briar patch. So should you trust your employee? Yes. How do you make time to prepare? Well, and by the way, when you're first starting, if you're young, and you don't have a lot of, I mean, even if you're not young, if you don't have a lot of things to do outside of your job, then there's no reason, taking a class or doing the boost content and doing those things. But, maybe give up your Saturday a little bit to improve yourself. But I want to really warn you about this, okay? Because I screwed up on this. I would stay up until 2 a.m. every day learning Java applets. Does anybody remember Java applets? Anybody remember that? Does anybody care about Java applets? How important are Java applets to the future of technology? How many hours did you put in to learn those things? Now they're banned. I would stay up till 2 a.m. every day writing my first Java applet to do a banner animation just so that I could learn them, because I felt like it was imperative that I learned it for my career. I later gave demonstrations to people about how to use this new thing called Java applets and all JSP and all this stuff. The point I'm trying to make is, in my 20s and my 30s, I want to believe that I spent a fair amount of time, a decent amount of time with my family. I remember specifically, reading alphabet books to my young children from the rocking chair and the thing. I did the family thing. But I want to tell you, if you think that destroying your health and your family and your relations is worth it because this technology is so important for you to learn, I want you to remember the story about Mr. Rob and how unimportant Java applets are. Because the stuff that you think is so essential to your job is going to be dead within 2 years. So do not, hey, how's it going? Do not sacrifice yourself for any job ever. Don't do it. And I'm preaching to the choir, to the younger generation here. They've figured this out, right? Ruining your social life and family because you have neither, right? If you don't have a family life and you don't have social, I'm going to tell you not to do it anyway, because, you're still going to want your health and you're going to want to do it. And it's fun. It's certainly enjoyable and stuff, but it is never worth it. You always think that it's going to get you ahead. And that is the lie that we tell to each other all the time. All the time we tell each other this lie. We tell each other this lie that if we put just another hour or if we put just another thing here, it's going to make us better and our whole family's going to be better off because of it. And the truth is, you're always going to have something else that you're going to think that you need to learn. And you see these people that go into Silicon Valley. I'm thinking of Lanya, what's her name? Recently, she completely left tech. She went to Silicon Valley. She did her thing. She was totally disenchanted with it, and she left tech entirely. She's like, I'm not doing this ever again. Because why? Because the whole FANG idea, the whole startup culture is destroy you for the sake of making a lot of money, and then you're going to get out and you're going to be all fine after that. And sure, that might be you. You might be able to pull that off. But most people are not going to want to do that. Most people are going to want to seek equanimity. They're going to want to be balanced. It's one of my favorite words, by the way, equanimity. They're going to want to be balanced. And, yoga is about balance. God knows I love it. Everybody here knows when I'm not balanced, when I'm coding for 13 hours a day on the bonsai project, I blimp out 40 pounds, and then I spend the entire year trying to get balance back. So, call it advice, call it whatever you want. As an old person, I'm just telling you, it's never worth it to lose balance. Does that mean you steal from your employer? No. Does that mean that you overly do it? No. It's balance. And I say it because I am constantly seeking this, because it is a problem for me, because I'm very, very ADHD, OCD kind of person. I'm not diagnosed. I don't mean to take away from anybody who's actually been diagnosed, but I actually think I have a little bit of manic depression in my family as well, and my personality. So I'm like really, really high, and then I'm really depressed, and really, really high and really depressed. And I love the highs because I get all kinds of stuff done, and then the lows, I'm like can't do anything and I just want to sleep all day, like yesterday. It's like, so you have to figure what your dynamics are, which is one of the reasons I love Mr. Robot, because at the end of the day, spoiler alert, Mr. Robot is about mental health. It's not actually about hacking, and coming to terms with your own mental health and dealing with what you need to. And for me, that means balance. Used to study many technology to become a DevOps, have a great salary. At some point, I realized it's not worth it because HR will ask for experience in years that I won't have until I get hired. Yeah. All right. So another thing. So should you prepare time? Yes, you should prepare time. But remember, a certain percentage of time is built into any tech job for you to learn what you've been asked to do. And let me give you a specific example of this. Okay? Let me give you a specific example. Mr. Robot. So let me give you an example of a time when I say, okay, so I got my current job from Twitch. I met somebody on Twitch who said I mentioned that I was looking for a different job because I needed health insurance during COVID for my wife and child and things like that. I needed to change jobs from the job I was working in that I created. And somebody, and I quote, said to the hiring manager, "You'd be a fool not to hire this guy." And that got me an interview. And they bypassed HR and everything, and they got me an interview, and I had a couple questions and some great conversations, and boom, I was hired. No whiteboard, no nothing. I told him point blank during the interview, so what's up with your Kubernetes? I was like, well, I've been playing with it, but I really don't have any experience at all in it. And I said, you just need to know that I'll need to learn it. What was the position? The position was an infrastructure engineer with expertise in Kubernetes. But because my CV and everything demonstrated that I could learn anything and that I had a history of showing that, they hired me. I'm telling you the story not so much to flex as to say this is how it is. What they're looking for is they're looking for someone who has the aptitude to learn the technology and keep up with it. You're slightly ahead if you know the exact technology that they're hiring for in that moment, whether it be Kubernetes or Rust or Go or React or whatever. But that's not really what they're hiring. They're hiring a person. They're hiring a person, a developer, a technologist who can learn anything, who will learn anything when needed to. Have I ever done any open API development? No. When they hired me, had I even ever deployed a Kubernetes cluster? No. Have I ever even deployed a Kubernetes cluster in my life after a year and a half working for this place? No. They're hiring people who have the capacity to learn, who have demonstrated that they are learners, that they know how to learn, that are not just independent learners, they're also very aggressively learning the things that they need to learn, and they know how to learn quickly. That is far more important to any employer than just knowing a specific technology. So if you're looking for a magical recipe for all the tech you should learn to get the job and walk in on the first day, you're doing it wrong, because that's not what they want to see. What they want to see is they want to see a demonstrable experience where you have learned something you didn't know before. And then you taught yourself that thing. You learned it. You bled through it. You experimented with it, whether it be at school or not. That's what they want to see. They want you to demonstrate that. And by the way, this is exactly why you need to post your passion projects on your resume. They're the most important things on your resume. Way more important than your education. Your passion projects, the thing that you work on the side that just drives you and that you love, that is way more important for them to see. And if it's not tech related, own it. Say, well, that's cool, But if it is tech related, if you're just obsessed with doing leak code, or if you're obsessed with doing, try hack me for some reason, or you're obsessed with making, something to replace Cobra and Go, you put those things in there. It's not even padding. That's the stuff. I've been on the interviewing chair to hire people. If I'm in that chair, they used to pull me in as the bullshit detector. Sorry, that's an official tech term. And they would put me in, and the HR person and whatever, the manager, Barb, would be interviewing. And my job was to filter out people that really didn't know any tech. But we didn't give them a big exhaustive whiteboard interview. It was up to me to provide a feel for whether the person could actually learn and whether they were really, really lying about their skills or not. And hiring is very, very dangerous for companies to do wrong, which is why they keep doing the whiteboard thing, because it's the single most expensive thing a company can do, I think, is to hire poorly, because it's really, really hard to get rid of somebody once you've hired them. Jobs used to talk about that all the time, by the way. So, whatever. I got hired without knowing any WS. They know I was going to be in a project. It took because you don't know JS. Yeah. But we offer a relocation package. Some people offer relocation packages, yes. So, what should I learn from backend tool type stuff? Okay, well, let's talk about that next. How much experience do I need before I apply for a new job? 0. Look, I'm telling you, I applied for a primarily Kubernetes job, and I had 0 Kubernetes experience. I got the job. I got the job because I had extensive experience in other things that showed I could learn Kubernetes. In fact, they even said so in the interview. And I'm really glad I was explicit about telling them that I didn't really deeply know Kubernetes, because then I didn't have any buyer's remorse later when I got the job feeling really guilty. I felt a tremendous sense of urgency all the time because they, in fact, to the point where it became sort of a problem with me, because I felt like it's imposter syndrome. I know, you think a veteran person would be immune from imposter syndrome. No. I didn't know any Kubernetes, and I was doing a Kubernetes job. The imposter syndrome just crushed me. It crushed me because, I know a lot of stuff. I know a lot of stuff. I've done things that people can't even imagine to do. I've written my own protocols and my own APIs that communicated and took audit data from 52,000 machines, but I didn't know Kubernetes, so I was still crushed with imposter syndrome. And so I dove into Kubernetes way more than I should have, and it actually was kind of bad on my health early on because I was constantly studying it. I wanted to be good. And it wasn't so much that I wanted to get paid or I was afraid of getting fired. I wanted to meet the expectations of me that I was putting on myself. And every time I would talk to my manager or something, they were like, dude, chill, you're fine. You're fine. Chill, you're fine. And then I would survive another week, and then by the end of the week I would be all beating myself up again. The really bad thing about imposter syndrome that can actually turn kind of bad is if you have too much imposter syndrome and you flip over to if you I don't even know if I want to talk about this. They give you to learn Kubernetes. They didn't give me any money to learn Kubernetes. They just wanted me to get good. There was no conversation about extra money they were going to pay me or something. I just knew they were paying me a lot of money. And by the way, my wife would tell me, she goes, dude, you're not, compared to the scale of other people, I'm making half the money that people in this position who actually have Kubernetes certifications make. And it's still a crazy amount. There's so much money in tech, particularly in cloud native, that if you know it, and this is why I keep telling people to do the boost, because even if you don't like tech, if you can stomach it more than waiting tables or something, it will give you a ton of freedom and latitude to decide what you actually do want to do. And I'm very open with the fact that I don't like coding per se. I enjoy what I get from coding. And that I talk about that a lot lately because I think that's something that really distinguishes me from a lot of technologists. I don't care about technology until it gets me something. It gets me a great community that I can talk to. It gets me new friends that get my jokes and make me laugh my ass off. It gets me, money. These are the things it gets me. It gets me the ability to communicate and to read what other people say and to keep track of my notes and things like that. It's, all of these things are compelling reasons for me to learn technology, but I do not naturally like to do it. There are people who do. I talk about this a lot, but there are people who definitely do. There are people who want to write, leak code algorithms in their free time instead of play Dota or Minecraft or skateboard. Not me. So how much experience do I need before I apply for a new job? 0. You need to prove that you know how to learn the thing. HR don't like it. Technology is for lazy people. In fact, there's a saying, you probably know this. There's a saying in technology that said that the laziest programmers are the best programmers. Why? Because they're so tired of typing those extra 25 characters every time that they'll make an alias for it. So they don't. And then they end up improving the whole system. In fact, the lazy technologists and lazy operations people end up coding themselves or automating themselves out of a job. I did. I automated 25 people out of a job while I was at IBM. I helped author a thing called Virtual Server Administrator, which could do the job. It increased our ratio from 1 to 20 servers to 1 to 300 because they had a tool that they could use to watch all that. And we did it because we wanted to do it, plus we wanted to be more efficient. What did they do? They fired them all. They fired them all, and they went on to other things. And I was left standing because I wrote the code. So it was me and like 3 other people. So moral of the story, learn automation. Learn to be a lazy technologist. Learn to not be afraid. Don't be a technocrat and like do things that are going to force you to be hired all the time forever because you're the only one who understands it. No, make decisions that are sustainable and keep you in place, but that automate your work and the work of others, and you'll end up making the employer money. You'll get a better job. And even if you don't, even if they do fire you because you automated yourself out of a job, now you put that on your resume and go do it for somebody else. So, looking for a job in the field, learning Docker, Kubernetes, practicing in VM. By the way, I want to say this again. My recruiter, who I have a very close relationship, people talk about bad recruiters all the time. I'm like, what are you talking about? You need to get a good one. My recruiter actually reached out to me again last week, and he has 2 entry-level DevOps positions open right now, and he's aggressively seeking to hire for them. I have no financial interest in this at all. I'm not getting any money for telling you this. I'm just letting you know. If you have even minimal DevOps skills, that means that, and by the way, it's a Java shop, for whatever that means. So if you know Java DevOps, I don't even know what that is. And I do have the job posting, which he sent to me, so I should probably go find that. But if those kind of things interest you at all, please let me know. I believe I've been instrumental in getting several people jobs over the last 10 years or so, and this is one of them. So, and actually am going to seek more contact in my free time this is why I want to go to the recruiter conference, because I could make like 50 contacts with hiring recruiters at this, like that, and I could vet them. I could make sure they're not these, horrible recruiters off LinkedIn. Everybody's had a bad experience with a bad recruiter. I've had many, but I've also had really, really great. Yeah, Java DevOps is basically Jenkins. That's actually what they said. They said Jenkins and Java DevOps. Yep, that's exactly what they're hiring for. So, if that's your thing and you want to do it, fine, right? Thank you for the Discord. You might have to personal message me if you have experience in that. Yeah, I'm off LinkedIn. I will never use LinkedIn again. LinkedIn is the devil. I've almost actively sought to destroy LinkedIn because I hate them so much. They continue to fill my mailbox with spam, even though I don't have an account with them. The alternative is GitHub plus personal contact. There have been a few people in Twitch who have told me they got their job through LinkedIn, through a recruiter that they met on LinkedIn. I wouldn't have a job without LinkedIn. I have never had that experience. Every job I've ever got was because of who I knew. Is it because I'm a white guy and I'm experiencing white privilege without knowing it? Possibly. But that has been my experience. My experience is, and Learn with Leon says the exact same thing explicitly. Learn with Leon, by the way, a much different take on the skills you should learn, but very successful in getting people jobs. I'm going to shout him out, Learn with Leon. The reason I love Leon is because he's so laser focused on helping people of all types and backgrounds get jobs. Now, he is very, openly dedicated to front end kinds of jobs, React-ish kind of front end thing. And that's fine. I just really, really love Leon. I do. I mean, he rated me once, but I'm constantly talking about him. I don't really care about raises. The reason I'm telling you about him is because he's had direct experience getting many, many people jobs. And I'm sitting here listening to him about this job thing, and he's just like, I'm like, amen, brother, amen, brother, amen, brother. Through that raid? Oh, nice. Thank you for that. But see, the thing about Leon that Leon will tell you point blank is getting a job has to do with distinguish yourself. I mean, I've told everybody this all the time. Getting a job is about trust. It's about establishing trust with somebody who's going to ultimately decide to pay you for what they trust you for without even knowing you. And so you need to produce proof of that trust. And that means unique projects. That means human relations. And Leon talks about this, getting to meet people. Every single job in my entire career that I got became because I met someone. The last one was because it was somebody I met on Twitch. I've never met them in real life. I don't even know what they look like hardly. They're a good friend of mine, even though I hardly even seen them. By the way, they went on to do something. They went on to become a CTO and make double the money. I can't even tell you the money they make now. The person that helped me get my current job is making an obscene amount of money. Oh my God. It's like, it should almost be illegal how much money they're making. I want to tell you so bad. But I can't because you might know who that person is. It's absolutely a true story. Yep, absolutely. I got my job through somebody that I met on LinkedIn. I'm not LinkedIn, somebody I met here. Somebody was here. They were coming into my room quite frequently to my stream. I call it a room, but it's a stream. And I was fine. I was running my own business, but during COVID, it became clear that I was going to need to do more. And I started talking about that on the stream. I was like, I need to do more. I actually had an interview with a VC who's been in here. Scott's not in here, is he? From Australia. I actually had an interview with a crypto VC CEO as well. I had several interviews with people just from Twitch, and I keep telling people, I'm like, look, if you can do it, I mean, if you're the type of person that can stream, you should, even if you're a beginner, because you never know who you're going to meet. One of the first things Leon students do is reach out and network with people and continue to build a network. Yes, every day. Scott's there. Hi, Scott. Did I dox too much about you? Scott, I love you, by the way. I'm gonna bromance you a little bit. I love what you're doing. Ever since I saw that animal on your head, I fell in love with you. I am a big Scott fan. To this day, I'm kind of sad but whatever. We'll see about the future. By the way, Scott is brilliant. Oh my God, I'm so happy Scott's here. Scott is one of the most brilliant. I mean, my community, I will rave about my community all day because my community is filled with crazy, crazy, amazing people, and Scott's definitely one of them. And I don't know how much I should talk about you, so I'll shut up. But suffice it to say, it's not just here, right? It's not just my community. There's other communities. There's places you can social network with other people who are hiring, and people like Scott they'll tune in. They'll tune in, and you never know. You might even get a job offer without even doing an interview. I've heard of that before too. I've heard of people. So Brian Cantrell, who runs Joyent, his story is that he had a VC approach him and said, "I'll give you money to do whatever you want," and he made his own company. He made Oxide out of that. I just read about that yesterday. So, what's the most important thing to get a job? The most important thing to get a job is to create trust with a potential employer and to meet potential employers. And that only happens if you reach out. You got to get out of your shell. And that's really, really hard. And if you can't do that, by the way, if that's something that's hard for you to do because you are a techie and you're an introvert, and believe me, there's lots of them, right? I mean, hundreds of them came through SkillStack. People who had a hard time even, looking at other people, like Steve Wozniak, for example. That's why Steve Jobs made him so successful, because he helped break down that barrier and helped him make contact with other people. Sometimes the people who are the most employable, who have the most to offer a company, are incapable of reaching out to other people because of their nature of their personality. And it doesn't make them bad. They're just introverted, right? And my wife is a little bit this way, but for the most part, and if that's you, then you need to make best friends with a recruiter that you trust, who's an extrovert. And recruiters in general are extroverts. That's their job. Their job is to sell you. In fact, one recruiter that I worked with down in Charlotte, I was like looking around for work, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's look at some of this Perl work that's out here. I figured it was low hanging fruit because I've done Perl my whole life. I was like, whatever. The recruiter actually showed up to the interview, and the recruiter was like looking at my tie and making sure my clothes were right and everything. And you could tell that this recruiter had been kind of mothering, a lot of potential hires, because so many tech people just don't know how to be with people. It's really horrible to say. I'm not trying to cliche everybody. I mean, we're all different, but not everybody's. There are a lot of amazing introverts who have skills that I dream of having, who just cannot connect with people. Coders should be hired in a team of two, an introvert and an extrovert. I agree, Wama, completely. In fact, one of my good friends, my wife's cousin, actually, he works for Bloomberg. He took us on a tour of Bloomberg while we were in New York. Lutz is his name, actually. I don't imagine Lutz is watching right now, but Lutz, his superpower was connecting people. So he took an Asperger's person and paired them with a completer. That's his word. His word was completer. He took an Asperger's person, and his superpower is understanding people and how to put the cogs together to get the most out of them. And he put an Asperger's person with a completer, and they rocked it. They rocked it like crazy, because they basically made a Jobs-Woz pairing and put them together, and they did crazy, crazy great things. But if you're a Woz, I mean, if you're a Jobs, you're going to get a job like that, right? Because you can talk yourself into any kind of job. And I'm kind of in the middle, but I have to admit I'm a little bit toward the job side. I don't like saying that, but I am. I'm not nearly as smart as Woz. Oh my God. But yeah, I can BS my way into a job and improve it, right? And I'm good with making relationships and stuff like that. I'm an extrovert. It's just my skills. It's important that you know what your skills are, right? If your skills are not that, then yeah, you've got to pair. And the pairing with a recruiter is going to help you, because the recruiter is their job, whether it's male or female or whatever in between, their job is building relations with these different people that are hiring you, and they get paid if they place you. So they get to brag about you and stuff and say things that you would never say about yourself. And most of those recruiters, particularly the ones that are technical, like Jobs, Jobs' greatest advantage was that Jobs was just technical enough. Thank you for that. Jobs was just technical enough to see the capability in Wozniak. He was like the Salieri to Mozart. If you taken like some random recruiter who didn't know enough about tech to appreciate it, it wouldn't have worked. It took a pairing of Jobs and Woz to do that, because Jobs could see the capability. He could see it. He was a visionary. He knew enough tech to know how awesome it was, but he didn't know enough tech to make his own video game. He had to ask Woz to do it so he didn't get fired. It's a really funny story. It's a true story, by the way. I got the biography right here. Steve Jobs almost got fired from his game development job because he couldn't code. He sucked. He was horrible at it, but he was a great BSer and marketer, and he knew good talent when he saw it. So what did he do? Called Woz to save the day. Did Woz get the credit? No. But pairing with somebody like that is what you need if you can't do what Jobs does. So where are you going to find that, right? Well, you're going to find that at these tech recruiting seminars where everybody's going to put you on a pedestal because you're already there, right? And they're going to look, in fact, the more weird and backward and antisocial that you look, you might end up getting more attention in some of these tech conferences because that's the kind of people they're looking for. They're looking for that quiet genius out there who's going to like knock the socks off and make the whole company billions of dollars. And then one of the few places that they're actually actively looking for people like that, with people who are trained to find those types of people, is going to be a tech recruiting conference, which is why I want to go to one so bad. I really want to go to one. I want to go to one. It's been a long time since I've found a good one. Hey, Bumpy. But I think we need to go there and we need to start looking at that, right? Yeah. In your 2005, I installed Linux on network at home. And my friends told me, why waste your time? Nobody uses Linux. Is it sunset time? What time is it? I don't even know. Am I like talking through the sunset? I probably am. Oh my God, we're like way past sunset time. All right, we're going to IRL and we're going to try to race to go see the sunset. Thank you so much for this session. I'm going to go ahead and close this session. I'll start the IRL session anytime now. But this has been a fun session. This will be up on YouTube. And we'll talk to you soon. I'll be right back